So the final step to take in looking at the credibility of a source, whether or not what the source is saying is actually true or factual, we need to look at what other sources are saying. And we're going to do essentially another lateral reading exercise here, but we're not really just looking at the source. We're looking at what other sites say. All right, so this is a meme that was put up, and it looks somewhat legitimate because it has Fox News listed in a date, right? And it's a quote by Eric Trump, supposedly what the meme is saying. So all you're going to do for this, if this is the meme, I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to literally put that quote from that meme into my browser, and I'm going to search it. And this is one of the best fact-checking websites there is, PolitiFact. When I check this out, I notice right away it says, no, Eric Trump didn't say this, right? If this was a legitimate quote, you would have seen MSNBC, Fox News, some of your major news providers going on about this, because this is a fairly controversial statement. So really the first one, and even if I opened up this one, it would also tell us that this was fake, right? So that's the first one. Now the second one we're going to look at is an actual article, because you guys will be mainly looking at articles, right? The article, this article is claiming that small dogs pee higher than big dogs, essentially. And rather than having to read through and look it over everything, when I actually look at the source, when I check the source out, I'm still kind of on the fence whether or not it's reliable, because it's the Wikipedia has it as a website that reports on many things, one of them being science and science fiction, right? And it says the majority of stuff they report is factual. So there is a little bit room for error. The fact that they could possibly have reported a false claim. So I'm going to go check this out on here. And actually this is going to bring me to the next part of checking sources, and that is not to look at the very first source. Don't just go with the first thing on the list. First of all, what you'll see is a lot of the first things, this isn't the case, but a lot of times it'll be ads that you'll see first. So that's one reason you don't want to click on the first thing that's listed. The second thing is, so if we look at this, if we use this as our example, right? I took the title, I put it in my browser, and I hit search. Gizmodo comes up, okay? So obviously that wouldn't help us, right? Reddit, I'm not really going to trust that there. I'm going to continue down to see what other... I do notice there's a lot of websites that are reporting the same story. I see a blog. Well, I'm probably not going to trust that. Psychology Today, now that's a legitimate website. That is a legitimate organization. But it is, I see the word blog again, so maybe I'm still not going to trust that. So I'm going to go down and, what is this? SmithsonianMag.com. So the Smithsonian Magazine, which is a very credible source, has a very similar story to the one we see there. So I am going to go out on a limb and say, based on what other sources, credible sources, are reporting, primarily Psychology Today and this one, that this is probably a legitimate article. This is probably truthful. So that's all you're going to do to look at other sources, right? You're going to go down through that list and look at what other sources are reporting. We noticed the meme, there was only two things that popped up and both of them said it was fake, right? This one is a legitimate article, and you saw tons of websites reporting on it. Some of them we didn't know the reliability, so we continued to scroll until we found a reliable source. If you never find a reliable source, then you're still going to speculate that it's probably not truthful. All right, so that's what you're going to do. The first step in finding a credible source, looking at the actual source of information in the author, kind of using the steps that were talked about before, and then this step. These are going to be your two quickest ways to find out the credibility. The second step, the middle step there, looking at evaluating evidence, that is going to take a little bit longer and be a little bit more time consuming. So I strongly encourage you to use the first two, and as much as possible. And if you're still kind of on the fence, then actually dive into what the evidence is showing.